than that. Can you just take us through the approach that the new standard has towards classification and measurement, and perhaps some of the thinking behind the new approach?
Okay, I think the approach that we've taken in IFRS9 is the business model approach. The business model approach essentially says look to your underlying business rationale, look to the way you manage the business, the way you think about the business, the way you measure the performance of the business, and use that as the primary indicator for how you decide on how to classify something. And that talks to maybe an overall conceptual reason. IFRS has different measurement bases in them. Fair value OCI, and amortized cost. And obviously those different measurement bases create some complexity in our standards. So we have to think about why we accept that they should be there. And the reason we accept that they should be there is that we believe that different methods of managing a business change the nature of the cash flows you expect to receive from that business. If you're buying and selling things on a continuous basis, the cash flows you expect to receive come from the buy and sell action, and fair value is an appropriate measure in that circumstance. If, on the other hand, you simply hold an asset to use in your own business or to collect the cash flows that come from it, then the nature of the cash flows you'll receive, the nature of the predictive element of the asset value, is in the cash flows you're expecting, those flow of cash flows over life. And amortized cost is perhaps the best representative of how that value is determined, what that value means. So what IFRS 9 tries to do is it tries to capture that information. It tries to capture the fact that there are business models in different organizations. There is an override. We believe that there are some circumstances when the nature of an instrument is so complicated that amortized cost doesn't produce a reasonable value. Now, the most obvious circumstance for that is derivatives. A derivative instrument is all about its changes in value. And therefore we think even if your intent was to hold to collect, the nature of the instrument is such that you should be reflecting it at fair value because that more accurately reflects your cash flows. And so we built in a business model test, and then on top of the business model test, or next to it if you like, is a test which says what is the contractual nature of this contract, what we call the P&I, or the principal and interest test. And that's simply an override to see whether or not amortized cost does provide reasonable information.